Hi kids, today we've got kind of a twofer for you. A no BS video, another animal-headed political commentator channel who is commenting on a video by far right-wing Fox News pundit Tucker Carlson. Let's take a look.
Hello and welcome back to No BS. Today we turn to talking about Tucker Carlson, one of the last great conservative voices on television right now, and
by which he means a pundit just slightly to the right of Goebbels.
In a lot of ways, we are being failed by our representatives in government. They're trying their best, but at the same time, they're also being complicit in not standing up and fighting against these liberals enough. The
liberals, yeah, it's definitely the liberals. What the hell is he talking about? Why is it that right-wingers can never understand the difference between liberals and left-wingers? They just combine them all into some weird umbrella of people they don't like. I mean, the right wing uses the word liberal like they accuse the left wing of using the word Nazi.
Enough. The liberals are being strong and taking over and doing whatever they want, and they're stopping things and, calling for lockdowns, forcing masks, taking away the cops, causing riots and creating these autonomous zones.
Yeah, all these far leftist and outrageous things they're doing, like trying to stop people getting infected with a fatal disease and trying to stop getting black people shot by cops unnecessarily. Really extreme policies that only the most ardent communist could get behind.
And I think it's time, too, for the Republicans to step up and stop that in more harsher ways. Now, I'm not calling for some kind of crazy dramatic civil war or anything like that. We're just talking about real legislation. We're talking about sending in possible law enforcement in some cases.
Yeah, not a crazy dramatic civil war. We're just talking about, lightly turning America into a kind of police state, a kind of fascist police state, just a gentle fascist police state where all protest is outlawed, and sort of dealt with harsh criminal penalties,
We're talking about protecting actual conservatives, stopping us from, say, getting banned off platforms or losing our jobs and all this other crazy stuff that's happening to us. So
just something like, the government stepping in to decide how companies run their businesses, despite the fact that in all other cases we promote sort of free market capitalism. In this particular instance, we think that the government should interfere just under the circumstances where hate speech is being removed from platforms. That's the one area we think it's okay for governments to interfere with private businesses.
With that said, let's jump into this monologue, this groundbreaking monologue from Tucker, and we're going to go over it and talk about it and see how awesome it is.
What we're going to do is see just how groundbreaking it is, or whether it's oddly reminiscent of a series of political opinions that kind of had their heyday between the sort of years of 1933 to 1945.
Republicans at all levels could lose this fall. If they do, there will be profound consequences for you. People who supported Donald Trump will be punished. There's absolutely no question about that. There's never been an American political party as radical and as angry as the Democrats are now.
I don't know. I mean, I'm no expert on American history, but I probably have thought they were quite angry during the Civil War. That seems quite angry, and it probably would have been viewed as quite radical, the sort of ending of slavery. I'm sure Tucker Carlson would have viewed that as quite radical if he was around at that time. I'm sure, didn't they sort of have a revolution and kick my ancestors out? I was probably quite angry then, and I imagine the British found them to be quite radical during that period. I mean, as I said, I'm no expert on American history, but it almost seemed to me to be that being angry and radical was kind of the very heart of what being an American is.
Imagine them with unlimited power, and that's what they plan to get. In their first year, Democrats will give voting rights to every illegal alien in this country and then encourage many others to join them from abroad. At a minimum, that means more than 20 million new Democratic voters overnight.
I don't know, it sounds pretty good.
Okay, already pretty scary. And at the first point, I think it is very interesting. Like, people that supported Trump, conservatives, open Republicans, we will be in an even worse place if we lose the election in November. If we lose in November, even just the presidency, there's other things up for election, Senate seats, Congress, all kinds of stuff are going up for election. And if we lose across the board there, starting with the presidency, we're in big trouble after November. Like middle November, we're all going to get canceled. We're going to lose our website. I don't think this show is going to go on. Stuff like that is going to happen for sure. Like we're all going to get punished.
Let me explain something to you, BS. I like to call you BS for short. The truth is that's going to happen to you eventually anyway. There is no way that this sort of recent upsurge of reactionary, white nationalist wave, whatever you want to call it, is going to end in any other way, because it's the same way it always ends, in a bunker with a gun in your mouth in Minecraft.
We can see how crazy things are in the streets already. Like Tucker was saying, this thing is just going to get worse. Like, look at these Democrats now. We have a Republican president. We have Trump. We have a majority. We're supposed to be controlling the Supreme Court, a lot of things like that. But still, the Democrats are running amok. They're tearing down.
Oh, yeah, it's the Democrats. Yeah, the Democrats. Yeah, in fact, I saw Hillary Clinton herself, dressed in an Antifa t-shirt, running through the streets with a Molotov cocktail in her hand. Well, Jesus Christ.
We need to vote for Trump. We need to make sure all these other Republicans not only get elected, but they need to start listening to us more too. Like, we need more help. Like, I don't know how else to stress that.
Oh, the incredible, delicious irony of a right-winger in a sticky financial situation, really wanting the super rich to listen to them. Oh, dear.
Like, luckily, Tucker, he's in a great position. He's got his wealth. He's made a lot of money. But people like us, people like me, like I've been doing pretty good for a couple years, but things have slowed down. Like they are trying to stop us all. We've already seen them banning lots of other channels. Like lots of channels have been straight up banned.
Interesting, you're not listing those channels. Are they? Just a guess. But do they? I mean, probably just coincidentally. But have they been calling for the genocide of millions, or or calling for a white ethno state, perhaps, or wondering whether Jews might be in charge of bringing in immigrants, or perhaps telling gay or trans people that they're not valid, trying to take away their rights. Could that have something to do with it? Could it have something to do with the fact that most advertisers probably don't want their products associated with that sort of thing? Could it be that when you watch a video that's talking about the Great Replacement, and then you see a product flashed up on the screen in association with that Nazi hate speech, it kind of puts you off from wanting to buy that product? I mean, it's just a wild guess.
But Democrats don't plan to stop there. In Congress, they will abolish the filibuster. That means they'll be able to do whatever they want to do with just a simple majority, which they will have.
Oh God, if they win, they might be able to exercise that dreadful thing that people call democracy.
So they're openly trying to take this thing over. They're openly saying and admitting. I mean, we're looking at them. They say they want to give illegals the right to vote. They say they want to give criminals the right to vote. They want to make D.C. a state, which will give them more seats in the Senate. I mean, you got to read between the lines, because there's a lot of people, like the Democrats try to act like, for example, with the D.C. thing, they try to act like they're helping and they're doing the right thing. Like, oh, the D.C. needs to become a state. Like, oh, this is the right thing to do. They deserve to have a senator and all this stuff. And really, that's not the case. They're not trying to help anyone. It's just like with BLM and the protests. Like, they don't care about the people. They act like they care, but they don't.
Yeah, BLM are just doing it for a laugh. They were just bored and thought, I don't know, maybe I'll just protest police brutality for no reason.
I'm not sure if Tucker's going to get to this, but Electoral College is another example of that. They always talk about banning Electoral College, and they want to take that away, and they act like, oh, it's because it's not fair. It doesn't give everyone the same kind of vote. Like, it makes more votes valuable. Like, they try to pretend they care about this fairness, but we know that's not true, because they take down the Electoral College. It's another way for them to have a better chance of winning elections. It's just very biased, very unfair, and they're just pretending they have these noble causes.
Wow. Not only is there a fundamental disrespect for democracy, which is unsurprising for a fascist, but there's an astounding hypocrisy. Why does he want to keep the Electoral College? Is it because he thinks it increases democracy, increases fairness? Or is it because he thinks it makes it more likely for his side to win? The projection is just dripping off this guy.
But we know they have secret, ulterior, very nefarious motives.
But to remind the Republican Party that it is our only shield, yes, the Republican Party, flawed and infuriating though it often is, the fact remains the GOP is the only institution still open to the rest of us.
And here you see the grift coming full circle. Why does Tucker Carlson promote these far-right reactionary politics and so on? And is it to create a kind of new politics, a wave of revolution or whatever else it is they want? Something that could actually improve the lives of these disaffected young white men? Hell no. The end of the grift is, of course, and then you just vote in the same old rich oligarchs that screwed you over in the first place. Apparently, that's the only option. The only option is to just vote in the same old shit. And weirdly, these are also the people that give giant tax breaks to people like Tucker Carlson. I'm sure he's entirely principled and that's nothing but a massive coincidence.
To Americans who want to live as they did just 15 years ago, quietly, productively, without being harassed and harangued by self-righteous lunatics who mean them harm, and they do.
So I'm going to go full mask off here. In one sense, Tucker Carlson is actually kind of right. I do mean that way of life incredible harm. In fact, I would prefer if that way of life was utterly destroyed and forgotten about. I wish it was burnt to the ground and then the ashes were spread into the ocean. Much in the same way that conservatives find the sort of gay lifestyle, in inverted commas, icky, I find that so icky. It's culturally vacuous, boring, and just absolutely makes my skin crawl. I hope that in the next 15 years we do succeed in completely eradicating that vile culture from the face of the planet in Minecraft.
Of course they do. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen these protesters. We've seen them go out in the streets, destroy stuff, attack people, go after whites. Like, they very specifically say they hate white people.
When? When have they literally ever said that? It's completely in your imagination. You see, people like No BS, they see any rights extended to black people as some kind of war on white people. It just goes to show how his worldview is so tainted by this bizarre, racial, oppositional, flat earther kind of madness, that's the lens through which he views everything.
That's why they pin us with things like white guilt. Well, white guilt is a bad thing that a lot of liberals put on themselves, but they pin on us terrible labels like white supremacists. They say we have white privilege. They attack us for our skin color. They try to demean us and say we don't deserve the positions that we have, say, in government or positions in work, in power, in Hollywood, stuff like that. They try to demean us.
Oh, you're going to cry about it. Oh, triggered. God, it's BS and people like him. Such snowflakes, so fragile that, like, just saying that maybe we should avoid some kinds of prejudice, they take that as a kind of, oh, it's an attack. Look, the thing is, No BS, you're a nobody YouTuber. You're not one of these people. You're putting yourself in an imaginary category which includes you and these successful, super rich people who, they wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. Okay, you're not in the same group as them. They're tricking you, making you think you're in the same group so that you'll support them oppressing you. It's a fucking grift. Okay? White people is imaginary. And these people who you're helping prop up with your stupid reactionary videos and you're encouraging people to vote for Republicans, they're laughing at people like you.
It's only going to get worse. And as Tucker just stated very, very well, we're the only party that's open to everyone. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound like that's true. The liberals try to act like they're all inclusive and about equality, but they don't let in the regular white people. Like, unless you just go along with everything and just totally kind of cave in and act like you're just this weak, terrible person.
Oh yes, the American Republican Party, the party that welcomes anyone in, anyone at all, as long as you're, not trans people, of course, or homosexuals, or I mean, closeted homosexuals are okay, or ones that will speak out against it, but not full on out gay people. We don't really, they're not particularly welcome, or rather not welcome at all. And black people will accept some of you, but the ones that sort of want equality and black rights, we're not really interested in that. And women, the sort of women who object to being grabbed by the pussy, they're not really welcome either. So really, it's kind of heterosexual white men. The poor, we don't really want, I mean, the poor, any people who are poor who kind of, who would rather not be and don't just want to bootlick, we're not really interested in those people either. And people who just want to have a good time and take some drugs, which basically have no downsides, yet we don't really want you either. They're not really welcome. So basically we're looking at anyone, as long as they are Hank Hill from King of the Hill. That's basically it. Just one fictional character. That's all. That's all. The only person that's welcome.
The Conservative Party is the actual open one that will allow anyone in. We support the country. We support freedom.
Yeah, we support the right of any black citizen to have their neck knelt on by a cop, or the freedom of any protester to be arrested for complaining about that. And also, of course, the freedom to allow the government to interfere in private business to help promote hate speech. It's those sorts of freedoms, the sorts of freedoms that are sometimes called oppression.
If you want to be left alone to do your job and raise your family in this country, you will need a protector. That protector must be the Republican Party. There are no other options.
Yeah, but what if you want to be protected from the Republican Party at the end of the day? That's probably far more likely. What if you're not, wanting to do a hate speech or a hate crime, but, you're just wanting to live your life as a black person or a trans person without people trying to murder you or ruin your life? In which case, is the Republican Party really the ones who are going to help, considering everything else you've said in your entire career?